Adjectives in German can be confusing. I've made several videos about adjectives over the years that I've been on YouTube. In this video, I've combined them all so that you can learn everything you need to know about adjectives in German in one video. All of these lessons come with extra materials, including worksheets with answer keys and MP3 versions of the lessons. You can get all of that and more with my Everything Adjectives bundle, which is on my website, GermanWithAntrim.com. I've linked that in the description. All of the lessons contained within this video are a part of my A2 Elementary German course. This course is available on my website, GermanWithAntrim.com, or on Amazon as an ebook or paperback book. The book reinforces the lessons that are taught in the video version, which is available completely for free on YouTube. You can watch the course in 3 formats. The first is the way that I intended it to be consumed, which is a mixture of grammar lessons and listening comprehension lessons. The other 2 options split the grammar lessons into one video and the listening comprehension lessons in another. All of those videos, along with the links to the course book and other things, are linked in the description. This video is not meant to be watched all at once. There is a ton of information in this video, so please make sure to take breaks and let your brain absorb the information before moving on to the next part. And now, on to the lessons. Adjectives are words that describe nouns, meaning that they describe people, places, and things, and ideas. In English, this can be done directly before the noun, which is how you're probably thinking this is done. Or it can be used far away from the noun. When we use the adjective away from the noun, we call it a predicate adjective. The predicate part is the part of the sentence that is after the verb. As the name suggests, these adjectives show up after the verb, and they describe a noun at the beginning of the sentence. In German, we have the exact same 2 options. You can put the adjective directly before the noun, or you can put it after the verb to describe the subject. Here are a few examples. Der Film war gut. The film was good. Mein Bruder ist jung. My brother is young. Die Kinder sind heute laut. The children are loud today. In those sentences, the words good, young, and loud are adjectives that describe the subjects of their sentences, the film, my brother, and the children. In German, it is the exact same. The adjectives gut, jung, and laut describe the subjects der Film, mein Bruder, and die Kinder. This is the easiest way to use adjectives in German, but it doesn't lend itself to very much variety or flexibility. That's why there's also the option to put the adjective directly before the noun that they describe. This allows us the greatest amount of flexibility with our descriptors. Let's take a look at some examples to see what this looks like. Der gute Film beginnt in 30 Minuten. The good film starts in 30 minutes. Ich mag meinen jüngeren Bruder. I like my younger brother. Die Mutter gibt den lauten Kindern keine Schokolade. The mother isn't giving the loud children any chocolate. As you can see from these examples, we are no longer limited to describing just the subject of the sentence when we add the adjective directly in front of the noun. In fact, we can describe any noun that we like within the sentence. The placement of the adjective in German and in English is exactly the same, between the article, the word for the or a or an, and the noun itself. What you may have noticed, however, is that the adjective endings in German change sometimes. The first one used an E, while the last 2 used en. As you probably have guessed, this has to do with the gender of nouns and the cases in which they are used. What you might not have guessed, however, is that it depends on what comes before the adjective as well. Definite articles, or der words, require different adjective endings than indefinite articles, or ein words, and there's even a third category if there is no article. Let's start with the adjectives after der words. In this chart, you can see all of the definite articles for each case and gender. Next to them, you can see the endings for the adjectives that follow them. At first, this may seem overwhelming, but there are really only 2 endings. In the nominative case, all of the singular forms require an E at the end of the adjective. In the accusative case, feminine and neuter nouns require an E at the end of the adjective as well. All of the other forms in all of the other cases require en at the end. This makes this group of adjectives by far the easiest to remember. If the noun is plural and you're using a definite article in front of it, you add en to the end of the adjective. If the noun is in the dative or genitive case and there's a definite article before the adjective, then add en as well. If the noun is masculine and in the accusative case, add en. Let's try some out in some example sentences. Der kleine Hund des lustigen Arztes bringt dem alten Mann den roten Apfel. The funny doctor's little dog brings the old man the red apple. All of these nouns in this sentence are masculine, So the only adjective endings that end with an E are in the nominative case. All of the other cases for masculine nouns require en at the end of the adjective. Die kluge Frau der netten Ärztin kauft der 5-jährigen Tochter die teure Halskette. The smart wife of the nice doctor buys the 5-year-old daughter the expensive necklace. In this sentence, there are 2 adjectives that end with E and 2 that end with en. All of the nouns are feminine, so the nominative case noun, die kluge Frau, and the accusative case noun, die teure Halskette, both have an E at the end of their respective adjectives, kluge and teure. The dative case is used with the indirect object, which is why we changed the feminine article to der. The genitive case, der netten Ärztin, obviously also uses an en at the end of the adjective. Das große Pferd gibt dem niedlichen Kaninchen des braven Mädchens das süße Möhrchen. The large horse gives the well-behaved girl's cute bunny the sweet baby carrot. As with all of the other examples, all of the nouns in this sentence use the same gender. These are all neuter. This means that the nominative and accusative articles are das, and they are automatically followed by an adjective with an E at the end. In the dative and genitive cases, the articles become dem and des, respectively, and the adjectives are en for both of them. Die lauten Kinder der faulen Eltern schreien die blödesten Beleidigungen von den höchsten Stellen des Spielturms. The lazy parents' loud children are yelling the dumbest insults from the highest parts of the play tower. As you might have guessed, all of these nouns are plural, but the last one in the sentence is der Spielturm, which is masculine, and is really only there because otherwise the rest of the sentence wouldn't really make much sense. The rest of the nouns are plural, however. All of the adjective endings after plural nouns when there is an article require en. It doesn't matter how they are used within the sentence or what the gender of the noun would have been if it were singular, all of the plural nouns require adjectives with en, if there is an article. It's important to remember that certain words in German act like definite articles. They require the same endings, and the adjectives that follow them require the same endings as if there was a der word in front of them. These words include dieser, alle, jeder, jener, welcher, manche, solche, and beide. The last letter or letters will change to match the der word ending chart, and the adjectives that follow will use the same endings as the adjectives do when they're followed by words like der, dem, des, and so on. Here are a few quick examples of that. Dieser kluge Junge hat jeden blöden Film von Tarantino gesehen. This smart boy has seen every dumb film by Tarantino. The er at the end of dieser indicates that the noun being used is in the nominative case and masculine. This also makes the adjective have an E at the end. The en at the end of jeden shows that the noun is masculine and accusative, which in turn requires the adjective to include en at the end of it as well. Welche freigebige Lehrerin hat allen armen Kindern diese warmen Mäntel gegeben? Which generous teacher gave all of the poor children these warm coats? This time we have the feminine form welche to indicate that the teacher is the subject of the sentence and therefore nominative. The adjective that follows requires an E for the same reasons. The children in this sentence are the indirect object of the sentence, which makes them dative. The plural ending for articles is en, and the adjective that follows that has to follow suit. Allen, armen, Kindern. The coats are also in the plural form, but they are the direct objects of the sentence, so the article uses an E while the adjective uses en. When you use an indefinite article in German, or words that translate as a or an in English, you mostly use the same endings as you do for definite articles, or words that translate as the in English. In fact, the dative and genitive case all use en on their adjectives still. The only change between the adjectives after definite articles and the adjectives after indefinite articles are the masculine and neuter forms in the nominative case and the neuter form in the accusative case. These adjectives now use the same letter that would have been on the definite article if you use that instead of an indefinite article. For example, der kluge Junge hat den Film gesehen. The smart boy saw the film. Ein kluger Junge hat den Film gesehen. A smart boy saw the film. Notice how the ending changed between these two sentences. The first one has an E because the gender of the noun was already identified in the article der. The word ein, however, is used for both masculine and neuter nouns. This makes it so that we have to show the gender through the adjective, which is why the adjective now ends in er. Das große Pferd ist eine Möhre. The big horse is eating a carrot. Ein großes Pferd ist eine Möhre. A big horse is eating a carrot. In the first example, the article das clearly identifies the gender of the noun Pferd as neuter. Therefore, we only need an e at the end of the adjective. Since the article ein could be masculine or neuter in the nominative case, we still have to identify the gender through the adjective, which in this case indicates the neuter form with es at the end of the adjective. The full adjective ending chart for adjectives after indefinite articles looks like this. I know what you're thinking. How is there a plural column for this? While you can't say a books, you can say my books or no books. Both of these are expressed in German with words that act like indefinite articles. All of the possessive adjectives that I taught you a few lessons ago, along with the negative article kein, use the same endings as the indefinite articles do. The adjective endings that follow these words follow the same patterns as the adjectives after indefinite articles do. Ein katholischer Priester, eine methodistische Pastorin und ein braunes Pferd gehen in eine irische Kneipe. A Catholic priest, a Methodist pastor, and a brown horse go into an Irish bar. Besides the obvious lame setup for a joke, this sentence includes one masculine noun, one feminine noun, and one neuter noun in the nominative case. This allows us to follow the endings across all of the genders. Adjectives for masculine nouns get er, feminine takes e, and neuter takes es. The articles for masculine and neuter nouns are both ein, while the feminine article is eine. The last noun in the sentence isn't in the nominative case, but it still requires eine as the article and an e at the end of the adjective to show that this is feminine and accusative. Ich kaufe einen roten Ball, eine gelbe Banane und ein schwarzes Schaf. I am buying a red ball, a yellow banana, and a black sheep. These nouns are all the direct objects of the sentence. The only change from the last sentence as far as the endings are concerned, however, is the masculine form is no longer er, but rather en. This shows us the transition from the nominative to the accusative case for masculine nouns. Feminine and neuter nouns don't change their articles or their adjective endings for the accusative case. Sie spielt Fußball mit meinem alten Vater, meiner jungen Mutter und meinem kleinen Kaninchen. She is playing soccer with my old father, my young mother, and my small bunny. After the preposition mit, we use the dative case, which is indicated by the masculine and neuter articles einem and the feminine article I now. The adjective endings for all of these adjectives in this case are en. As long as there is an article before the adjective in the dative case, the ending on the adjective is en. This works for definite and indefinite articles. Als Glücksbringer bringt der Junge die Münzen seines weisen Vaters, die Ohrringe seiner lieben Oma und die Schuhe seines braunen Pferdes. For luck, the boy brings his wise father's coins, his dear grandma's earrings, and the shoes of his brown horse. While using the genitive case, the article for masculine and neuter nouns ends with s. The adjectives that follow that use en. The feminine articles end with er, but the adjective endings are still en. So far we have 2 of the 3 adjective ending categories covered. The adjective endings after definite articles look like this. The adjective endings after indefinite articles look like this. When neither a definite or indefinite article is used, the adjective ending generally follows the ending that is normally on the article. The only exception to this is in the genitive case for masculine and neuter nouns. Instead of taking an s, they use en at the end of the adjective. The chart looks like this. As I said, these endings are used when there is neither a definite nor an indefinite article in front of the adjective. This is pretty rare with singular forms, but it can be done. For example, gelber Käse schmeckt mir nicht. Yellow cheese does not taste good to me. Ich mag gelben Käse. I like yellow cheese. Ich mache ein belegtes Brot mit gelbem Käse. I am making a sandwich with yellow cheese. Ich mag den Geschmack gelben Käses. I like the taste of yellow cheese. These examples follow the masculine noun Käse through all of the cases. In the nominative case, it requires er at the end of the adjective. If you were to use a definite article instead, you would say der. Notice that the last letter of der and the last letter of gelber are the same. In the accusative case, the ending becomes en, which is the same as the masculine accusative article den. In the dative case, we use gelbem, which has the same ending as dem. The only one that doesn't match is the one in the genitive case. The article would have been des, but the adjective ending is en. Kalte Milch schmeckt mir besser. Cold milk tastes better to me. Wir mögen kalte Milch. We like cold milk. Ich esse gerne Kekse mit kalter Milch. I like to eat cookies with cold milk. Das ist die optimale Temperatur kalter Milch. This is the optimal temperature of cold milk. These examples follow the feminine noun Milch through all of the cases. In the nominative and accusative cases, we use the adjective ending e, just as we would have used the article die in the same cases when we use a definite article. In the dative and genitive cases, the definite article becomes der, which is why we use the adjective ending er when the article is not there. Frisches Brot ist das Beste. Fresh bread is the best. Alle mögen frisches Brot. All like fresh bread. Wir machen unser Mittagessen mit frischem Brot. We are making our lunch with fresh bread. Ich mag den Geruch frischen Brotes. I like the smell of fresh bread. In these examples, we can see how the neuter noun Brot changes between the cases. In the nominative and accusative cases, we use es at the end of the adjective, just as we would have had an s at the end of the word das for the article. In the dative case, we use the adjective ending em to indicate the neuter form, just as we would have used the article dame in the same instance. When we get to the genitive case, we again have a small deviation from the der words chart, as the adjective ending here is en, while the article would have been des. Adjectives without articles are much more common when used with plural nouns. You often don't need an article with plural nouns, so this stands to reason that you would often see an adjective with those same nouns. Here's an example of that. Kluge Kinder erzählen vertrauenswürdigen Eltern doofe Geschichten anstatt echter Wahrheiten. Smart children tell trustworthy parents silly stories instead of real truths. This sentence has all four cases in it. The nominative and accusative cases have an e at the end of the adjective, as the definite article would have been die. In the dative case, the ending becomes en, as the article would have been dame. In the genitive case, we use the adjective ending er because the article would have been der. All of the definite article endings here match the unpreceded adjective endings. Now that we have all three categories of adjectives, you can see a full overview of all of the endings in this chart. It shows you the definite and indefinite articles with the adjective endings that follow them, plus the unpreceded adjective endings, which are indicated with a blank line in front. I also included the indicators of what counts as a category for each of these endings, which words require the same adjective endings as the der word adjectives do. They are listed under the der word category. Under ein words, you can see the words that fall into that category, and the null article is used for those that don't count as an article. You'll notice that in that category we have viel, etwas, and a few other things that you can use before an adjective that doesn't count as an article. While einige looks like an article, it actually means some and doesn't count as an article when it comes to the adjective endings that follow it. If you're enjoying this video so far, you will love my A2 Elementary German course. This course is designed to help you master the German grammar and vocabulary at the A2 level. Check out the links in the description, or just find it by searching Elementary German with Herr Antrim wherever you do your searching. Today I'm talking all about Partizip 1 and Partizip 2 as adjectives in German. First, let's take a look at some examples to see what we're even talking about and get you oriented a bit. Das lachende Baby ist sehr niedlich. The laughing baby is very cute. Der Polizist half dem blutenden Jungen. The police officer helped the bleeding boy. Ich werde das verbrannte Schnitzel nicht essen. I will not eat the burnt Schnitzel. Der Mann fährt trotz der zerbrochenen Windscheibe. The man is driving in spite of the broken windshield. As you can see, there are two versions of the verbs that I used as adjectives. In the first two sentences, I used a verb form that shows that the noun is doing something at the time the sentence takes place. This does not affect the tense of the sentence, and the tense of the sentence does not affect the adjective. In the first sentence, I used the present tense, Präsens, and a present participle called Partizip 1 in German. The baby is laughing at the same time that it is cute in that sentence. In the second sentence, I used the simple past tense, the Präteritum, and the present participle, or Partizip 1, as an adjective. The boy was bleeding at the time that the police officer helped, but the entire event took place in the past. In the second two sentences, I used a verb form that shows that the noun is in a state after the action of the verb has been completed. So while I use the future tense, or the Futur 1 in the sentence about the schnitzel, the burning happened prior to that, which left the schnitzel in a burned state. In the next sentence, I used the present tense, or Präsens, but the breaking of the windshield occurred prior to the driving in that sentence. The windshield is already in the broken state before the man started driving. In English, we label these participles in a much more clear manner than we do in German. In English, we call the Partizip 1 present participle, and the Partizip 2 past participle. These two names help us to understand what they do and why we might need them. The present participle, or Partizip 1, is used to describe an action that is being done by the noun that it precedes. For example, das lachende Kind, the laughing child. The child is currently laughing, and rather than say das Kind, das lacht, ist niedlich, we shorten the sentence down to use the verb lachen as an adjective. In order to form the Partizip 1 of a German verb, we simply add d to the end of the infinitive. Lachen becomes lachend, and bluten becomes blutend. Once you have that, you simply add the correct adjective ending to go with the case and gender of the noun that is being described. Here are a few more examples of Partizip 1 as adjectives. Der Mann spricht mit dem schreibenden Kind. The man is talking with the writing child. Seine Mutter wollte wissen, was das Problem des schreienden Jungen war. His mother wanted to know what the problem of the screaming boy was. Du wirst einen tanzenden Hund vor der Tür sehen. You will see a dancing dog in front of the door. Nimm niemals einem fressenden Hund das Futter weg. Never take the food away from an eating dog. Partizip 1 is not nearly as common as Partizip 2. The Partizip 2 is called past participle in English. It shows that the action is completed. You are likely already aware of how these are formed, as you need the Partizip 2 in order to create the perfect tense. Partizip 2 generally start with ge and end with t. That only works with regular verbs, however. Irregular verbs can be as simple as using en at the end instead of t, but it can be a lot more complicated, like a stem vowel change, like beginnen changing to begonnen. When you use a Partizip 2 as an adjective, you are essentially saying that the action that the verb represents is already done and the noun that you are describing is now in a state that follows that action's completion. I mentioned the example of das verbrannte Schnitzel, the burned schnitzel. We know what happened to the schnitzel before it wasn't eaten by the speaker in that sentence. We can tell this through the Partizip 2. Once we create the Partizip 2, we simply add the correct adjective ending to match the case and gender of the noun that we are describing, as we would with any other adjective. Here are a few more examples of these in action. Kevin hat die gekauften Lebensmittel fallen gelassen. Kevin dropped the purchased groceries. Der Feuerwehrmann findet die vermisste Katze. The fireman finds the lost cat. Hänsel aß schnell die gebotenen Kekse. Hänsel ate the offered cookies quickly. Mein Sohn nimmt das frisch gebackene Brot aus dem Ofen. My son takes the freshly baked bread out of the oven. Quick side note about the last example. I added an adverb frisch before the adjective gebacken. Adverbs are used to describe adjectives, among other things. In this sentence, the word fresh describes the way in which the baked state came about. In this case, recently, as the bread was freshly baked. Just for fun, let's see a few more examples of that kind of thing. Ein gut trainierter Hund zieht nicht an der Leine. A well-trained dog does not pull on the leash. Das Mädchen fährt ihr neu gekauftes Auto zur Schule. The girl drives her newly bought car to the school. You can actually continue to use these kinds of phrases to make an entire clause out of them. For example, Hänsel aß die von der Hexe gebotenen Kekse. Hänsel ate the cookies that were offered by the witch. Literally, the from the witch offered cookies. Der Verbrecher verkauft die vom Geschäft gestohlenen Waren. The criminal sells the goods that were stolen from the store. Literally, the from store stolen goods. To recap what we've learned so far, Partizip 1 refers to verbs which look like infinitives with d added to the end. When they are used as adjectives, they show that the noun is engaged in that activity while the action of the sentence is taking place. Partizip 2 refers to verbs which have been changed to the form that is used in the perfect tense. This is generally indicated by a ge in front and a t at the end. But there are a variety of other rules that dictate how these are formed for the Partizip 2. When used as adjectives, the Partizip 2 forms of verbs show that the noun is already in a certain state because of the action that the Partizip 2 represents. Now let's take a look at some mixed examples to see these words in action. Der Polizist erkennt den versteckten Jungen. The police officer recognizes the hidden boy. Der erkannte Junge kommt aus seinem entdeckten Versteck. The recognized boy comes out of his discovered hiding place. Er spricht eine Weile mit dem beruhigenden Polizisten. He speaks a while with the calming police officer. Der erwischte Junge geht mit dem versichernden Polizisten zum Auto. The caught boy goes with the reassuring police officer to the car. Das krabbelnde Baby ist auf dem frisch gefegten Boden. The crawling baby is on the freshly swept floor. Die erschöpfte Mutter liegt auf dem mit ungefalteter Wäsche bedeckten Sofa und schaut zu. The exhausted mother lies on the sofa that is covered with unfolded laundry and watches. Das krabbelnde Baby der erschöpften Mutter zieht sich an dem mit ungefalteter Wäsche bedeckten Sofa hoch und gibt der überraschten Mutter einen wohlverdienten Kuss. The crawling baby of the exhausted mother pulls itself up on the sofa that is covered with unfolded laundry and gives the surprised mother a well-deserved kiss. If you're enjoying this video so far, you will love my A2 Elementary German course. This course is designed to help you master the German grammar and vocabulary at the A2 level. Check out the links in the description or just find it by searching Elementary German with Herr Antrim wherever you do your searching. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to change adjectives and adverbs in German from the original form, called the positive form, into the comparative, higher, further, faster, or the superlative, best or most often form, and use them in a variety of sentences. I'll also help clear up some confusion about these things in English, as some native English speakers sometimes have trouble in certain areas. Let's start with the word schnell, which means fast in English. If you're using an adjective after the verb, we call that part of the sentence the predicate, we call this a predicate adjective. These adjectives, unlike the ones that are used directly before nouns, don't need adjective endings. We simply use them as they are. For example, mein Auto ist schnell. My car is fast. Just like in English, most of the time we add er to the end of the adjective to form the comparative form in German. So fast becomes faster and schnell becomes schneller. For example, sein Auto ist schneller. His car is faster. The superlative in German is similar to the English, but with a slight change. Instead of just saying the fastest, in German we add am in front of the adjective and sten to create the superlative form. So all three forms, including the positive form, the original adjective, the comparative form, the er version, and the superlative, the English est or the German sten version of fast are fast, faster, the fastest, and in German schnell, schneller, am schnellsten. For example, mein Auto ist schnell. My car is fast. Sein Auto ist schneller. His car is faster. Ihre Autos sind am schnellsten. Their cars are the fastest. Just for good measure, let's try that again with langsam. Langsam, langsamer, am langsamsten. Slow, slower, the slowest. Ihre Autos sind langsam. Their cars are slow. Sein Auto ist langsamer. His car is slower. Mein Auto ist am langsamsten. My car is the slowest. In English, we have to remember if a word is being used as an adjective or an adverb, as adverbs generally end with ly. This shifts the way that we make the comparative form as we change slow and slower into slowly and more slowly. For once, German grammar is actually simpler in this aspect. It doesn't matter if we're using the word as a predicate adjective or as an adverb, the comparative and superlative forms are the same. Let's try those examples of langsam again, but this time as adverbs. Langsam, langsamer, am langsamsten. Slowly, more slowly, the slowest. Sie fahren ihre Autos langsam. They are driving their cars slowly. Er fährt sein Auto langsamer. He drives his car more slowly. Ich fahre mein Auto am langsamsten. I drive my car the slowest. German is even more easy. Easier? Whatever. The point is that unlike in English, we don't have to worry about whether to use more or most followed by the original version of certain adjectives or adverbs. In German, it is always er and whateversten with regular adjectives. Of course, there are some irregular ones, but we'll get to that here in a bit. For now, here are a few more examples of adjectives that follow the most basic of standard comparative and superlative formation. Eng, enger, am engsten. Tight, tighter, the tightest. Dick, dicker, am dicksten. Fat, fatter, the fattest. Dünn, dünner, am dünnsten. Thin, thinner, the thinnest. Steil, steiler, am steilsten. Steep, steeper, the steepest. The rules for comparative and superlative don't change if you use them as adjectives before nouns. The only thing that changes is that you also add the adjective endings based on the case, gender, and article with the noun. Just be aware that if you're using the comparative form of something, you add er, and sometimes your adjective ending will also be er, which means you have er twice in a row. This is not incorrect, even if it sounds weird. Neu, neuer, am neuesten. New, newer, the newest. Ich fahre den neuen Sportwagen. I am driving the new sports car. Ein neuerer Sportwagen ist mir lieber. I prefer a newer sports car. Wir fahren die neuesten Sportwagen. We drive the newest sports cars. Occasionally you'll need to modify the adjective or adverb that you're using to make it easier to pronounce. Words that have an E directly before an R or an L require you to remove that E before you add any ending that starts with a vowel. This means most of them, but not the superlative, as it starts with an S. For example, teuer, teurer, am teuersten, expensive, more expensive, the most expensive. Dieses Buch ist teuer. This book is expensive. Es ist ein teures Buch. It is an expensive book. Dieses Buch ist teurer. This book is more expensive. Es ist ein teureres Buch. It is a more expensive book. Dieses Buch ist am teuersten. This book is the most expensive. Es ist das teuerste Buch. It is the most expensive book. Dunkel, dunkler, am dunkelsten. Dark, darker, the darkest. Dieses Foto ist dunkel. This photo is dark. Ich habe ein dunkles Foto gemacht. I took a dark photo. Welches Foto ist dunkler? Dieses oder dieses? Which photo is darker? This one or this one? Siehst du das dunklere Foto? Do you see the darker photo? Dieses Foto sieht am dunkelsten aus. This photo looks the darkest. Das ist das dunkelste Foto, das ich je gesehen habe. That is the darkest photo that I have ever seen. If an adjective or adverb ends with D, SZET, SCH, T, TZ, X, or just a Z, you'll need to add an E between the adjective and the ST in the superlative. For example, blöd, blöder, am blödesten. Stupid, stupider, the stupidest. Süß, süßer, am süßesten. Sweet, sweeter, the sweetest. Hübsch, hübscher, am hübschesten. Handsome, more handsome, the most handsome. weit, weiter, am weitesten, far, farther, the farthest, fix, fixer, am fixesten, quick, quicker, the quickest, spitz, spitzer, am spitzesten, sharp, sharper, the sharpest, stolz, stolzer, am stolzesten, proud, prouder, the proudest, heiß, heißer, am heißesten, hot, hotter, the hottest. Of course, every rule has to have an exception, which is why the word groß exists. Groß, größer, am größten, big, bigger, the biggest. When an adjective or adverb has one syllable and a letter that can take an umlaut, it almost always does in the comparative and superlative forms. For example, jung, jünger, am jüngsten, young, younger, the youngest. And now, quite possibly the most confusing set of sentences in this entire video. Ich bin jung. I am young. Ich bin jünger als du. I am younger than you. Ich bin am jüngsten. I am the youngest. Ich bin ein junger Junge. I am a young boy. Ich bin ein jüngerer Junge. I am a younger boy. Ich bin der jüngste Junge. I am the youngest boy. Alt, älter, am ältesten. Old, older, the oldest. Ich bin alt. I am old. Ich bin älter als I am older than he. A quick side note here, most native English speakers would say him instead of he in that sentence. Most grammar nerds will tell you that he is the correct form, as the pronoun is a predicate nominative. More about that in my video about sign, linked in the description. While this is true, I'm a proponent of language usage defining what is grammatically correct, and not the grammar rules defining how the language should be used. No one I have ever met would say I am older than he unless they finish the sentence with is. I am older than he is. But I am older than him. In German, the nominative pronoun er is used, which indicates that the German version would be more closely related to the correct English version. I only point this issue out so that you know that the German pronoun here needs to be in the nominative case. I'll get to some examples later that don't use the nominative case, so you know when to use the nominative and when to vary from that pattern. Ich bin am ältesten. I am the oldest. Ich bin ein alter Alter. I am an old dude. Ich bin ein älterer Alter. I am an older dude. Ich bin der älteste Alter. I am the oldest dude. Just so you know that these are not isolated incidences, here are 3 more words that require an umlaut for comparative and superlative. Hart, härter, am härtesten. Hard, harder, the hardest. Kalt, kälter, am kältesten. Cold, colder, the coldest. Lang, länger, am längsten. Long, longer, the longest. You don't always add an umlaut with single-syllable adjectives that can take umlauts. For example, flach, flacher, am flachsten. Flat, flatter, the flattest. Faul, fauler, am faulsten. Lazy, lazier, the laziest. Bunt, bunter, am buntesten. Colorful, more colorful, the most colorful. Rund, runder, am rundesten. Round, rounder, the roundest. All of these are only one syllable, and the vowel in the middle could take an umlaut, they just don't because, I don't know, comment if you know, because I have no idea. Even more confusing are the rare occasions when it's acceptable for you to choose if you want the umlaut or not. For example, nass, nasser or nessa, am nassesten or nessesten. Wet, wetter, the wettest. Krumm, krummer or krömer, am krummsten, am krömsten. Crooked, more crooked, the most crooked. Certain adjectives and adverbs are simply irregular. This means they don't follow any discernible pattern. This happens in English a lot as well. Usually a good rule of thumb is when an adjective or adverb is irregular in English, it probably is irregular in German. For instance, much, more, the most. in German is viel, mehr, am meisten. Meine Mutter nervt mich viel. My mother annoys me a lot. Meine Mutter nervt meinen Bruder mehr als mich. My mother annoys my brother more than me. Meine Mutter nervt meine Schwester am meisten. My mother annoys my sister the most. Notice in the second sentence, meine Mutter nervt meinen Bruder mehr als mich. My mother annoys my brother more than me. I use the accusative pronoun mich instead of ich, the nominative pronoun. This is because we aren't using a predicate nominative this time. Let's take a closer look at the previous one. Ich bin älter als er. I am older than he. As I kind of alluded to in my explanation of why the English makes no sense, if you finish the sentence, you would say, Ich bin älter als er ist. I am older than he is. If we finish the new example, meine Mutter nervt meinen Bruder mehr als mich, my mother annoys my brother more than me, you would say, meine Mutter nervt meinen Bruder mehr als sie mich nervt. My mother annoys my brother more than she annoys me. This makes it clear that the pronoun that's being used is the direct object in that part of the sentence. Therefore, we have to use the accusative case.
Ich bin größer als dich.
Ja, du bist größer als ich, aber offensichtlich nicht klüger. Es sollte heißen, ich bin größer als du.
Du bist nicht größer als mich.
Das Verb sein verlangt kein Akkusativobjekt. Wenn du deinen Satz ergänzt, siehst du ganz klar, was ich meine. Ich bin größer als dich bist, ist offensichtlich nicht richtig.
Natürlich nicht. Ich bin größer als du bist.
Na, endlich hast du es verstanden. Another point that's a bit odd about viel, mehr, and am meisten is that you can't use meisten in front of a noun without having an article, like you can in English. In English, it's possible to say most people or most students without having the in front. In German, you need the article. For example, die meisten Deutschen wohnen in Deutschland. Most Germans live in Germany. Die meisten US-Amerikaner wohnen in den USA. Most US Americans live in the USA. Let's take a look at another irregular adverb or adjective and some more examples that don't have nominative case at the end. Gern, lieber, am liebsten. Like more, like the most. Mein Bruder isst gern Pizza. My brother likes eating pizza. Meine Schwester isst Pizza lieber als diesen Rinderbraten. My sister likes to eat pizza more than this roast beef. Meine Mutter isst am liebsten Knödel. My mother likes to eat dumplings the most. In the second sentence, the word Rinderbraten is in the accusative case, as it is used in the same way that pizza is. If you complete the sentence, you would say, Meine Schwester isst Pizza lieber als sie diesen Rinderbraten isst. My sister likes to eat pizza more than she likes to eat this roast beef. The point is that you need to pay attention to the way that you're going to use the word at the end of the sentence and not just automatically assume that it's nominative. More irregular adjectives include the following: hoch, höher, am höchsten; high, higher, the highest; nahe, näher, am nächsten; near, nearer, the nearest, or next; bald, eher, am ehesten; soon, sooner, the soonest. Another convenient thing about German adverbs and adjectives is that you don't have to know whether to use good or well as you do in English. In German, everything is just gut. Officially, in English, if good is being used as an adverb, you need to say well instead of good. No one really seems to pay attention or care about this rule in English, however, so lots of people will just end up saying good in all instances and pretending the word well doesn't even exist. Or worse still, they'll just use well in sentences where it doesn't belong. Let's take a look at a few examples so we can fix your English while we're at it. Gut, besser, am besten. Good, or well, better, the best. Wie geht's dir? Es geht mir gut. How's it going? I'm doing well, or I am good, or I am well. This is the example that everyone claims the other person is doing wrong. The claim is that you can't say I am well unless it's in reference to a prior illness or being used as an adverb. Well is supposed to be used as a reference to your health or an adverb. This means that it modifies the verb of the sentence and not the noun or pronoun. When you are saying I am good, the pronoun I is being modified by good. That makes it an adjective. When you say I am doing well, the word well is modifying the way in which you are doing. That makes it an adverb and therefore has to be well. Again, the usage should define what is correct and what is not correct. Half the people I know say I am well. The other half of the people say I am good. I personally prefer good in that sentence, but I accept well as well. Enough about the English. You came here for the German, so let's get back to those examples. Mein Bruder spielt Fußball gut. My brother plays soccer well. Er ist ein guter Fußballer. He is a good soccer player. Meine Schwester spielt besser Fußball als er. My sister plays soccer better than him, or he. Sie ist eine bessere Fußballerin. She is a better soccer player. Mein Vater spielt Fußball am besten. My father plays soccer the best. Er ist der beste Fußballer. He is the best soccer player. Now that we know how to make the comparative and superlative of adjectives and adverbs, we need to know how to use them properly. If two things are the same amount of something, we confusingly say in English as something as. For instance, as comfortable as. In order to say two things are the same in German, we use the word so in front of the adjective and wie after it. For example, so bequem wie, as comfortable as. When you want to compare two things directly, you need the word als, which is used like the English word than. For example, bequemer als, more comfortable than. Bequem, bequemer, am bequemsten. Comfortable, more comfortable, the most comfortable. Das ist ein bequemes Bett. This is a comfortable bed. Dieses Bett ist so bequem wie mein Bett zu Hause. This bed is as comfortable as my bed at home. Das zweite Bett ist ein bequemeres Bett. The second bed is a more comfortable bed. Das zweite Bett ist bequemer als mein Bett zu Hause. The second bed is more comfortable than my bed at home. Das letzte Bett ist am bequemsten. The last bed is the most comfortable. Das letzte Bett ist das bequemste Bett, in dem ich je geschlafen habe. The last bed is the most comfortable bed that I have ever slept in. Just for good measure, here are a few more examples with some goofy sentences. Enjoy. Klein, kleiner, am kleinsten. Small, smaller, the smallest. Groß, größer, am größten. Big, bigger, the biggest. Ich habe eine kleine Möhre. I have a small carrot. Deine Möhre ist sehr klein. Your carrot is very small. Deine Möhre ist kleiner als meine Möhre. Your carrot is smaller than my carrot. Das ist eine kleinere Möhre. That is a smaller carrot. Ich denke, du hast die kleinste Möhre im Garten. I think you have the smallest carrot in the garden. Hast du eine größere Möhre? Do you have a bigger carrot? Natürlich ist meine Möhre größer als deine kleine Möhre. Of course my carrot is bigger than your little carrot. Meine Möhre ist die größte Möhre im Garten. My carrot is the biggest carrot in the garden. Meine Möhre ist nicht nur groß, sondern am größten. My carrot is not only big, but the biggest. Bekannt, bekannter, am bekanntesten. Famous, more famous, the most famous. Franke Potente ist bekannt. Franke Potente is famous. Sie ist bekannter als Hilary Duff. She is more famous than Hilary Duff. Franke Potente ist eine der bekanntesten Schauspielerinnen aus Deutschland. Franke Potente is one of the most famous actresses from Germany. Fleißig, fleißiger, am fleißigsten. Hardworking, more hardworking, the most hardworking. Ich bin sehr fleißig. I am very hardworking. Mein Bruder ist so fleißig wie ich. My brother is just as hardworking as I. Georg ist fleißiger als mein Bruder und ich. George is more hardworking than my brother and I. Abraham ist am fleißigsten. Abraham is the most hardworking. Faul, fauler, am faulsten. Lazy, lazier, the laziest. Dieser Hund ist faul. This dog is lazy. Er ist so faul wie mein Esel. He is as lazy as my donkey. Dieses Pferd ist fauler als der Hund und der Esel. This horse is lazier than the dog and the donkey. Die Katze ist am faulsten. The cat is the laziest. Unfreundlich, unfreundlicher, am unfreundlichsten. Unfriendly, more unfriendly, the most unfriendly. Dieser Angestellte ist unfreundlich. This employee is unfriendly. Der andere Angestellte ist unfreundlicher. The other employee is more unfriendly. Der dritte Angestellte ist vielleicht der unfreundlichste Angestellte, den ich je gesehen habe. The third employee is perhaps the most unfriendly employee that I have ever seen. Schlecht, schlechter, am schlechtesten. Bad, worse, the worst. Mein Bruder hat schlechte Noten. My brother has bad grades. Meine Schwester hat schlechtere Noten. My sister has worse grades. Mein Cousin hat die schlechtesten Noten. My cousin has the worst grades. If you're enjoying this video so far, you will love my A2 Elementary German course. This course is designed to help you master the German grammar and vocabulary at the A2 level. Check out the links in the description or just find it by searching Elementary German with Herr Antrim wherever you do your searching. Guten Tag, Fred. Ich habe am Wochenende den besten Film gesehen. Er ist viel besser als dein Lieblingsfilm. Wie heißt er noch einmal? The Dark Knight. Es gibt keinen besseren Film als The Dark Knight. Das ist der beste Film aller Zeiten. Ich finde Pee-wees ihre Abenteuer viel besser. Das ist, warum wir keine Filme zusammen sehen. Du hast keine Ahnung von guten Filmen. Pee-wee ist blöd. Das ist einer der blödesten Filme aller Zeiten. Was hast du am Wochenende gemacht? Ich bin mit meinem jüngsten Bruder zur Rennstrecke gefahren. Wir haben ein paar Rennwagen gemietet und sie gefahren. Ich habe nicht gewusst, dass man sowas machen kann. Ja, es gibt eine Firma, die diese Autos mietet. Man darf 3 Rennwagen fahren. Einen Ferrari 458, einen Porsche 911 und einen Audi R8. Zuerst habe ich den Porsche gefahren und mein Bruder den Audi. Wer hat gewonnen? Mein Bruder. Zuerst dachte ich, sein Auto war einfach das schnellere Auto, aber er hat alle Autos gefahren und ich auch. Ich habe nie ein Rennen gewonnen. Er ist immer der Schnellste. Haha, du bist der langsamste Fahrer. Nein, es gab auch ein paar andere Fahrer da. Der alte Mann war der langsamste Fahrer. Es war auch ein bisschen schwieriger für mich. Warum? Du bist der langsamste Denker und deshalb kannst du nicht schneller fahren? Nein, ich bin zu groß für diese Autos. Ich bin über 2 Meter groß. Ich passe kaum ins Auto. Ich kann meine Arme nicht bewegen. Alles ist zu klein. Ja, du bist der Größte. Oh, danke. Nein, ich meine, du bist mein größter Freund. Du bist größer als all meine anderen Freunde. Meine jüngere Schwester ist noch größer als ich. Sie ist die größte meiner Geschwister. Sie muss den Kopf einziehen, wenn sie durch eine Tür geht. Meine ganze Familie muss größere Autos kaufen, denn darin können wir passen. Du könntest auch mit einem billigeren Auto fahren. Du musst einfach das Dach abschneiden. Oder du kannst ein Cabrio fahren. Und jetzt die Erklärung des Komparativs und des Superlativs. Der Komparativ hat ER am Ende, der Superlativ ST. Danach fügt man auch noch eine Adjektivendung hinzu. Diese Endungen habe ich in der letzten Lektion schon erklärt. Und jetzt ein paar Beispiele mit Erklärungen. Das Auto ist schnell. Das ist ein schnelles Auto. This car is fast. This is a fast car. Dieses Auto ist schneller. Das ist ein schnelleres Auto. This car is faster. This is a faster car. Dieses Auto ist am schnellsten. Das ist das schnellste Auto. This car is the fastest. This is the fastest car. In jedem dieser Beispiele zeige ich zuerst das Adjektiv ohne Endung am Ende des Satzes. Das Wort schnell am Ende des Satzes beschreibt das Auto am Anfang des Satzes. Wenn man das Adjektiv direkt vor dem Substantiv sagt, braucht man auch noch es am Ende, um das Genus und den Kasus zu zeigen. In der zweiten Satzgruppe hat der erste Satz den Komparativ von schnell, schneller. Wenn man dieses Wort vor dem Substantiv verwendet, braucht man auch noch es am Ende. In der dritten Satzgruppe hat der erste Satz den Superlativ von schnell, am schnellsten. Wenn man den Superlativ ohne ein Substantiv verwendet, braucht man am vor dem Adjektiv und en nach dem st. In dem zweiten Satz habe ich einen bestimmten Artikel verwendet, deshalb brauche ich einfach ein am Ende des Adjektivs. So einfach ist es normalerweise. Fügt am Ende des Adjektivs an, um den Komparativ zu bilden. Dann fügt die Adjektivendung hinzu, wenn das Adjektiv vor dem Substantiv steht. Fügt st am Ende des Adjektivs an, um den Superlativ zu bilden. Dann fügt die Adjektivendung hinzu, wenn das Adjektiv vor dem Substantiv steht. Nicht vergessen, es gibt manche Adjektive, die unregelmäßig sind oder zumindest ein bisschen komplizierter als fügt einfach oder st am Ende hinzu. Das Adjektiv verlangt einen Umlaut, wenn es nur eine Silbe hat und der Vokal einen Umlaut bekommen kann. Zum Beispiel: Heute ist es warm, morgen wird es wärmer sein, übermorgen wird es am wärmsten sein. Today it is warm, tomorrow it will be warmer, the day after tomorrow it will be the warmest. Heute ist ein warmer Tag, morgen wird ein wärmerer Tag sein. Übermorgen wird es der wärmste Tag sein. Today is a warm day. Tomorrow it will be a warmer day. The day after tomorrow will be the warmest day. Bob spielt gut. Fred spielt besser. Johann spielt am besten. Bob plays well. Fred plays better. Johann plays the best. Johann spielt mit einem guten Spieler und einem besseren Spieler. Bob und Fred spielen mit dem besten Spieler. Johann plays with a good player and a better player. Bob and Fred play with the best player. Dieses Buch ist teuer. Dieses Buch ist teurer. Dieses Buch ist am teuersten. This book is expensive. This book is more expensive. This book is the most expensive. Das ist ein teures Buch. Das ist ein teureres Buch. Das ist das teuerste Buch. This is an expensive book. This is a more expensive book. This is the most expensive book. If you want to practice what you've learned here and take it to the next level, click the link in the description and download my Everything Adjectives bundle. Or take it to the next level and buy my book Elementary German with Herr Antrim. Das ist alles für heute. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss!